Which high school friend took a path you didn't expect? The son of my teacher was a football player, had a beautiful GF. They broke up before he graduated though, and was a procrastinator. Once he graduated, he went to work at a restaurant for a year, and as far as I knew, he was going to attend college the next year, but he had no idea of what his major was gonna be. I just found out 2 weeks ago he got accepted to a local seminary and is going to become a priest. I was shocked to say the least. Probably the smartest guy in class, but never actually paid attention or did his homework. Was always sleeping in class or doing his own thing or goofing off. Recently sold his startup for 8 figures and is now back to goofing off. Best friend in high school. His stepdad was a district attorney and apparently they didn't get along at all. This was the Bible Belt Southeast. I met him in the 10th grade as I smoked weed and he happened to sell it. He lived in a trailer park and financed it with his weed sales. My parents hated him. After he graduated from high school while living 100% on his own, he did 2 years of college before getting accepted in a major medical university program that actually paid him to be there. He is now a pharmaceutical engineer living in Switzerland. My parents were surprised to hear that. Guy who sat behind me in hometown. Was a good student but not an intellectual superstar by any means. After I relocated to Eastern PA, turns out he was in Western NJ. Multi-millionaire, former CEO of a pharmaceutical company. Great guy, super happy for him, but truly unexpected. Not in me, but my cousin in the UK went to school with Dev Patel. Dev was apparently super into the drama club, and people thought he was too over the top and kind of a try-hard that would never actually be a professional actor. His success was definitely unexpected for people he knew back then, based on what my cousin said. High school meth dealer and local lunchroom pot cigarette vendor ended up being roommates senior year. 2 months after graduation they both joined the Las Vegas PD. Not really a friend as I didn't run with the crowd, but like at every school there was the really popular girl. Pretty, cheerleader, everybody liked her, wealthy parents, etc. I'm sure you knew someone like that yourself. Just maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago she got arrested and charged with several felonies for possession of meth, prescription painkillers, and a large amount of weed. I moved away from that town years ago and haven't really kept in touch with a lot of the people from there. However, a buddy of mine sent me a picture of the report in the newspaper and was like, "Remember her?" Definitely didn't expect it, that's for sure. Not HS, but my best friend's freshman roommate was a weird guy. Brilliant. Literally 1600 SAT scores, full ride, brilliant, but never really showered. He was dating the sweetest, kindest girl, who dumped him after 2 months of trying to get him to take better care of himself and actually go out and do anything. We tried to get him to come out of his shell because he was pretty funny and we liked the guy. After not hearing from him for 15 years, we looked him up. Apparently he co-founded Revolve Clothing, is a multi-millionaire and parties in Ibiza and shit. I'm genuinely happy for the guy, but I never ever expected him to hit it big in fashion. My best friend since I was 5 years old, smartest person I ever knew. She went off to college and got into heroin. She is now serving a life sentence for first-degree murder. She was the mastermind and the getaway driver of a burglary gone wrong. Her accomplices broke into a guy's home they were acquainted with, tied him up and beat the shit out of him. He died of a heart attack sometime during the ransacking of his home or directly thereafter. I had a friend in high school who was high achieving academically. He was in the top classes, very nervous and well behaved in the classroom. Generally he was mostly thought of as quiet and the guy very few people paid any attention to. He's serving 8 years in prison for possession of drugs and child pornography. Had a friend that was the weirdest guy I'd met. He'd often yell random stuff for no reason, do every kind of accent, and was just generally awkward around people. Saw him a few years after and he was dressed to the nines, very clean cut and socially well adjusted. Complete 180 from high school. Made me rethink all my life's choices up until that point, since I was not doing so hot in life. Edit: I'm loving all the people wondering if I'm talking about them or someone they know. The most brilliant girl I knew, second in our graduating high school, was also one of the most lively and outgoing people I knew. She could befriend anyone. She was so fun and energetic and thoroughly enjoyed living life. I thought she was destined for so much success. She ended up passing away last year, just a couple months shy of her 24th birthday after a lengthy, private battle with cancer. When I found out about her illness, it was already terminal, and when she passed away all I could think was how unfair it was that someone with so much potential, someone who did everything right in life, could die like that. Her death really got me, and as the 1-year anniversary is approaching, I constantly remind myself to make the most of every second of my life, because hers was cut so short. Elizabeth, a badass party chick. She was the brilliant and quietly rebellious type. She was pulling and getting away with shit that most of the guys branded as troublemakers in school could only dream of, because she had the sense and savvy to not show off to the world. She wasn't doing shit for the attention, she was just doing it because that's what she wanted to do. So smoking, heavy drinking, some drugs, staying out all night, whatever. She could outdo anyone else. Anyway, a little over 10 years later I caught up with her and found out she was a triathlete and overall health nut. When I was 10 I sat next to the sweetest boy in our class. All the other boys I had sat next to in junior school were mild asshats. I remember I lent him my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory VHS and he lent me them up at Stake Manhattan. We went to different high schools when we were 12. I heard that at 16 he had been arrested for armed robbery. I still can't believe it. What the hell happened to that kind and gentle boy between 12 and 16? A friend of mine was really into herself and dated a lot of rich guys. She vowed not to get married or have children as she had goals to become a business professional woman. She did some modeling, etc. Fast forward 10 years. She gained 120 pounds and her husband left her for another woman, and she is raising a disabled child that consumes all her time where she cannot work. I have to say that she is an excellent mother. She basically turned into everything she said that she would not be. In my graduating class of 149, we had 148 go to college. That one guy, he decided to go on tour with his band. The other members of the band were 2 guys that graduated from our school the year before. About 6 years later, they are still touring full-time and have made a pretty good name for themselves. They've headlined their own tours and have opened for some big-name bands. It's pretty cool to get to go to one of their shows and hang out with them backstage. Edit: for all those asking, the band's name is New Madrid. Low achiever, used to goof off in class all the time. Bit of a class clown. Used to tell everyone that her goal was to be a trophy wife so she could watch TV all day. has shown her designs at Paris Fashion Week and has dressed several celebrities. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I was flicking through a copy of Vogue Australia on my lunch break and there was a 4-page article on her in there. I was so happy. She always had a heart of gold and I feel like her teen self was a reflection of what her family thought for her. She deserved to be much more than someone's wife.